That could be harder if a new warning seen in the Qadamiyya district is heeded. The display warns women of the dangers that await them if their bodies aren't covered head to toe.
This shows this life, and behind it is the afterlife. Being tortured by fire for those who are unveiled or wear too much makeup. The Quran says we have to cover the chest and the arms. Only the face and the hands should show.
Many Iraqi Muslims dispute that reading of the Quran, but it's a sign of changing times that few in this neighborhood will openly say so. Jane Araf, Al Jazeera, Baghdad.
The United Nations has published its annual report on the civilian death toll in Afghanistan. The latest figures show that 2,777 civilians died in 2010. That's a 15% increase on the year before. But 3/4 of them were the victims of anti-government elements, many killed in suicide attacks and roadside bombs. Over the past 4 years, almost 9,000 civilians have been killed in the conflict. Well, the UN Special Representative to Afghanistan had this to say.
The message to ISAF is that these statistics are unfortunately indicating exactly what you say, and that one civilian victim is too many, and that while we recognize and acknowledge a clear determination of avoiding these errors, we are still asking them that this should be coming to zero. Zero tolerance.
Now, after 27 years, 39 missions and 238 million kilometres, NASA is set to call time on the Space Shuttle Discovery. As it prepares to land, we take a look at one of the granddaddies of space travel. Plus, Joe will be here with all the sport as Messi makes it another memorable night at the Nou Camp. Details next.
It was a revolution which ended half a century of autocratic rule and inspired a wave of public protest that swept across the Arab world.
Internet, Facebook, Twitter, they were not the revolution.
In an exclusive two-part documentary, Raghi Omar traces the roots and repercussions of this uprising and examines why 23 years of dictatorship fell in only 28 days. The Death of Fear, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Hi, welcome back to Al Jazeera. Now, in around 3 hours, the world's most well-travelled spacecraft will wrap up its 27-year career. The Space Shuttle Discovery is scheduled to return to Earth on Wednesday, just before 1700 GMT. It'll be retired after its final mission, which saw its crew deliver and install a new storage compartment at the International Space Station. Well, Robert Massey is the Deputy CEO of the Royal Astronomical Society. He joins me now from London. Good to have you with us. So, Discovery's last days. I mean, what is the legacy of this shuttle?
Well, I think it's really, in a sense, the winding down of the whole shuttle program now. There are only two others, Endeavour and Atlantis, that are still hanging in there, and the final flight's expected this year. And you look at the statistics, and they are impressive. I mean, Discovery's flown a total distance of 143 million kilometres now. Of course, that's round and round the Earth, but if you stretch that out, it's almost as far as the distance from the Earth to the Sun. This is a very well-travelled spacecraft, and certainly in terms of spacecraft carrying people, it's gone far further than any other.
There'll be a lot of nostalgia over the shuttle program, won't there? I mean, this is something that you know, this generation have grown up with. A lot of people will be sorry to see it end.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely right. I mean, it's always been a bit contentious. It certainly is an expensive way of getting people into space compared with, say, the Russians and their Soyuz disposable vehicles. But having said that, it did keep the US human spaceflight program alive. It carried it on through the 80s and 90s and into this century. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And as we come to the end, I think it is very much the end of an era. You know, we're not quite sure what will replace it. I should also add that it did do things like launch scientific missions as well, not least of which was the Hubble Space Telescope. That's really incredibly valuable to astronomers.
Absolutely, it has been valuable, but it hasn't been without its problems, has it? I mean, the Challenger and the Columbia disasters pretty much marked the beginning of the end for the shuttle program.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, and I think, I suppose there are lots of lessons learned about the durability of spacecraft, just how hard it is to do. You know, the cost is one issue, but also just the fact that if you push the spacecraft that hard, if you make it do that many missions, taking it up into space and then putting it through a pretty brutal re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, do that again and again, it's tough on it. I mean, the original concept was that it would be very reusable, that, you know, you might see many shuttle flights a year, perhaps even as many as one a week, and it never quite turned out that way.
What do you think is going to happen to them? And we've got Endeavour going up and coming down next, and Atlantis will be the last one to be fully retired. Are they going to become museum pieces?
Well, there's certainly pressure to do that, and I think that would be fantastic. I mean, frankly, you know, these are historic vehicles. Whatever you think about the merits of the program, at the end of the day, they really were an epoch changer in terms of human space exploration. You know, the attempt to have a reusable spacecraft, and it may not have quite worked out as we intended, but the fact is that they were, you know, a really important part of NASA history, and I think it's absolutely fitting that they should be visible to the public in museum settings, perhaps not just in the US, but in other parts of the world as well.
Well, I tell you, I absolutely would pay money to have a look around one of those shuttles. Robert, good to talk to you.
Exactly.
Thanks very much indeed for that. Now, the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov took to the field with his team against some of Brazil's top football stars on Tuesday. It was a bid to burnish both his and Chechnya's image. Neve Barker was there to catch all the action.
It could be one of the strangest matches of the century. Football stars Cafu, Kaká, Ronaldo and other players from Brazil's World Cup winning side versus a team hand-picked and even captained by Chechnya's flamboyant leader.
I want our fans to enjoy themselves. Football is developing fast in Russia. We'll be hosting the World Cup soon that we have to win. That's why we want to make it popular.
Also playing, former Netherlands star Ruud Gullit, the new manager of local team Terek Grozny, hired by Kadyrov for an undisclosed sum.
The pitch is ringed by heavily armed security, and the city of Grozny is on lockdown, even without visiting foreign football stars. This is a Russian